I've missed you guys a lot. We're in week 2. And honestly, I expected to be here. I drafted Addison, and I was like, yeah, I know he's suspended. That'll be fine. I might struggle 1 week. Then Rasheed got hit, and I was like, man, forgot he was going to get suspended. So now I'm in danger. I was thinking about it. I said, you know what? If I can just have 2 wins by the time Rasheed Rice is back, I would count that as a W. Now, I expect to be back here too. I have a pretty mediocre team at the moment. Another chug is not out of question before she's back. If I'm back here again, I won't be sad. I'll just be disappointed. 54 points is not good. I'm fully aware of that. I'm ashamed. So I want to make this a little bit more fun this time. Fair warning, just want to say, I've been in the hospital for the past day and a half, had a really bad allergic reaction. My throat is not completely unswollen yet. It is hard to swallow. So I don't think it's going to go great. That's why I'm going to try to make it a little bit fun, just in case it sucks dick. So here's the plan, gentlemen. Basketball, drink. I'm going to give myself 60 seconds here. The plan, make a layup, make a free throw, hit a 3-pointer, 5 push-ups, finish drink, all in under 60 seconds. I don't think I'm going to do it because I can't drink for shit and my throat's not 100%. But if I don't, I'll make it up. I'll run another chug every week until Rasheed Rice is back if I don't finish in under a minute. That's the plan. I apologize. I know some of you are experts here. I can't compete. I really can't. So I'm trying to make it fun. I will start. Let me knock the push-ups out of the way. Ready to go? 5 push-ups. Let me look at the time. 2:30. We're starting the 5 push-ups. That's when the timer starts. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Oh, fuck. No. I just need to now. I think like 20 seconds. This is not good. Okay. I'm out of breath. Fuck. I can't do it. My throat. Fuck. I can't do it. Oh, fuck. I can't. My throat hurts too bad. I will finish it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Fuck. Hold on. I'll fill it up. Fucking disappointed. I haven't ate anything in a day and a half either, and I have to be at a dinner date in an hour. I'm gonna be fucking drunk. It hurts so bad. I'm at 4 minutes. I'm so sorry. I tried. Don't be a pussy. I'm gonna yak. Man up, don't be a bitch. I'll do it again next week. I don't give a fuck. I'll probably have to do it anyway. But I'll run it back. I'm so sorry. I'll be better.
Sam, this is Commissioner Clark checking in here. You're looking slimmer and more athletic, I must say. That was definitely not necessary. You can always cite, what would we call it, a medical impairment? You can take a week off due to health issues. You don't have to chug a fucking beer even when you're struggling health-wise, but I commend you for putting belt to ass and getting it done this week. I appreciate your dedication and your sacrifice to the league. After our first win of the season, the commissioner has decided to take a little sabbatical down in Florida. We have decided to switch things up. We've taken the team on vacation. We're attempting to get spirits high coming off our first win of the season, really trying to keep that momentum gelling upwards, enjoying a nice misty blue mountain right here. But you know what, Sam, you've inspired me. I must say, I think that there's something Commissioner must do to even the odds. We weren't going to have a podcast this week because of the connection. Kevin and I are unable to connect virtually because of the internet connection near the coast here. You know, I'm unsure how to manage it. I'm merely a commissioner at heart, but I think I'm gonna do a solo pod. We're gonna make it quick. I'm obviously at the beach, but we're gonna make it quick. We're gonna do a solo pod just for the boys for this one. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna film it probably over lunch right now. Gonna edit it up real quick. We're gonna try and have it out before Thursday Night Football, before the end of the workday for you. Now, there's maybe about 2/3 of a beer left in here. Let's go ahead and stand in the shade so you can all see. Well, let's go ahead and crush this for the team, and then we may shotgun another one. Let's go, boys. All right, hello. How you doing, gentlemen? Welcome to the Week 2 Impromptu Pod, inspired almost entirely by Sam and his actions in pushing past what appeared to be some sort of a medical injury and performing regardless, performing from the IR, as Alex may say. Taking a look here, let's go ahead and jump into the scoreboard for Week 2. Let us not waste any time. We've got the Slim Reaper's Retribution versus Henry Thing is Possible. I ended up taking down the win against Al, 138 to 110.8, about a 27.2 margin. I got the dub over him. He had a couple of key injuries and a couple of key things that went wrong. Joe Burrow putting up 9 points after going down with the turf toe. Excuse me. Gonna miss about 12 weeks, I believe, minimum with that turf toe surgery injury. Derrick Henry only putting up 2.3 against Cleveland. James Conner underperforms with 12. Malik Neighbors' huge overperformance in that shootout versus Dallas with 37.7. Travis Hunter underperforms with only 5. David Njoku with 8. Chris Olave with 11. And Javonte Williams with 25. Really solid game. Also part of that shootout, you know, the Giants versus the Cowboys ended up being 40 to 37 in overtime. So those two guys really performed well. Combined, they were over half of Al's points, and 110 just wasn't enough to get it done. On my side of things, we have Justin Herbert with 22.7, Devon A-Chane with 26, Puka Nacua with 27, and then everybody else was kind of in that double digits range. Travis Etienne with 17, T. Higgins with 14.6, Travis Kelce with 10.1, Mike Evans with 10.6, and Devontae Smith with 9.3. And then not really anything on the bench that could have changed the outcome of this one. Pretty done and dusted. I get the dub over Al, and we both move to 1-1. Looking forward into the second matchup of the week, Redemption Arc versus Baked with a Chub. Eli getting another win in Week 2, back-to-back wins, kind of streaking, maybe for the first time in 2 years. 123.9 to 109.8. Good win here for Eli. He moves to 2-0, and Alex moves to 1-1. One of many people to do that. Eli, interestingly, also gets another win here without having a quarterback. So if he could just figure out that issue, he may have, one of the best rosters in the league going forward. J.J. McCarthy with negative 1.1. Chase Brown with 8.5. James Cook with 26.5. And Devontae Adams with 22.5. Zay Flowers with 14.9. Tucker Kraft with 25 in that big Thursday night game. Really set the tone and kind of gave Eli that early lead. And then you have Jettas with 11 points and Keenan Allen with 17. And then looking at Alex's side, Baker Mayfield led the team with 24 points. You got a couple of guys in those high teens, Jameer, Chuba, JSN, Quentin Johnston, all between 16 and 19. But a couple of key underperformances, TJ Hawkinson with only 2.2, Cortland Sutton with 1.6, and Ladd McConkey with 9.8. Kind of led to Alex's downfall here. Eli showed a bit of weakness, having a quarterback actually take away points for the team, which is pretty rare. I mean, he had Brock Purdy, who obviously has that major injury, isn't going to play for the foreseeable future. J.J. McCarthy also now with an injury, probably not going to play for a little bit. Eli having picked up Daniel Jones on the waiver wire, but actually loses points because of his quarterback here, and Alex isn't able to capitalize. Eli keeps moving, gets off to a 2-0 start. Moving forward here, Pernicious D versus Baby Want Milky. Henry gets the win over Charlie, 138.7 to 90.5. Henry moves up to 1-1 and Charlie down to 0-2. The only 0-2 team in the league. He is in 12th. On Henry's team, let's look at the positives first. Dak Prescott with 24. Amon-Ra St. Brown with 39 in that blowout versus the Bears. A couple of other guys in the teens. Debo with 17 looks really hot to start the season. Trey McBride with 14, Josh Jacobs with 14.5, and DK with 11. And then a couple of guys in near that double-digit range, DJ Moore and Tony Pollard. But really solid score overall. 138 is all you can ever hope out of the team, overperforming overall. And then now you've got Jordan Mason on Minnesota, who's kind of riding that lead role while Aaron Jones is on the IR. So looking good going forward into the future. Baby Want Milky. Alvin Kamara was 16. Jalen Moore was 17. Everybody else in kind of that upper single-digit range. Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Hollywood Brown. However, interestingly, at the top of the team, Kyler Murray with 14 points. We did talk about this last week. Bo Nix puts up 24 points here in week 2 after the poor performance in week 1. And we talk about it so often when teams take two quarterbacks who not one of them is a clear and defined quarterback one, such as like a Josh Allen, Drake May with Bennett's team. And you often see the quarterback that you decide to start in week 1 underperform, and then you swap him with the other quarterback you have, and then it ends up being the inverse, where the quarterback you swapped in performs worse than the quarterback that you should have just rode. We see that here with a 10-point swing for Bo Nix versus Kyler Murray. Obviously, it wouldn't have made a difference. Charlie would have only scored 100.5 points versus, 90.5, but going forward, it's kind of that thing we've seen with Noah in the past couple of years, where you have two quarterbacks who are startable, but you don't really know who to start, and so you end up making the wrong decision a lot of the time. Looking forward into our 4th matchup of the week, Blue Medical Tent versus the Golden Boys. Bennett really underperforms here after showing out in week 1 and looking to have one of the strongest teams in the league, puts up under 90 points, was in that race for the beer chug for a little bit. Kevin ends up getting the dub here, puts up 121, over 120. That's what we really say in the first few weeks can get you a win pretty confidently. Both of them moving to 1-1. Kevin here clearly has a couple of guys really overperform or perform, about average where he needed them to. Jaden Daniels, Christian McCaffrey, both in that 22-23 range. And then you've got pretty much everybody else in that 15 to 18 range. Nick Chubb, Juwan Johnson, Jamison Williams, Tedero McMillan. Brian Thomas, another underperformance at 8.9. And then Jaden Reed with the donut. He breaks his collarbone in that game against Washington, doesn't actually catch a ball. And because of that, puts up the donut for Kevin, but he gets away with the win anyway. Josh Allen on Bennett's side really underperforms, only 11.8 in that blowout versus the Jets. They just didn't need him to be Superman. Bijan Robinson and Bucky Irving both at 18 and 19. Garrett Wilson with 9, another underperformance for him, also involved in that Buffalo Jets game. George Pickens with 17.8, Sam Laporta with 5.6, Matthew Golden with 1.5, and Keon Coleman with 5.6. Really, the bottom half of Bennett's team, having George Pickens on the top half and Garrett Wilson on the bottom half, really underperformed here and kind of led to his extreme underperformance. The projections were only 0.4 points away from each other, but those underperformances there and Kevin's overperformances on the bottom half of his team were kind of the swing, even though Kevin had the donut. Moving forward into our 5th matchup of week 2, say Quantum Mechanics versus Swifties for Smirnoff. I mean, I need this for this one. This one's gross. This matchup is awful to look at. Unfortunately, someone did have to win this one. Noah walks away with the win. 76.9 points in a win. How can you even feel good about that? Noah sent a video of him chugging a beer before the week was even over because he felt so bad. Sam's, obviously, you've seen today. 57 points, the low on the week for Sam. Both of them moving to 1-1. I don't know how either of them feel good about their teams going forward. Let's look at Noah's side first, because at least it's better. Jalen Hurts, 11.5 points. Saquon Barkley, 17. And A.J. Brown, 7.7. So 37 points, roughly, which is close to half of the points for the team, just from Noah's Eagles players, which are obviously his first 3-round picks. So ideally would be a high percentage of his points, but just doesn't feel good, especially when they underperform like this. All 3 of them underperform, and they were still half of your team's points. Not great. Travion Henderson with only 6, Hunter Henry with 1.9, Calvin Ridley with 8.7, and Dylan Sampson with 10.9. Jacoby Myers was really the only guy who was performing, at around what you would expect him to for where he was drafted. Everybody else you really want to be performing higher. You score 77 points. You should have scored a lot more, but you end up getting the win anyway. Flipping over into Sam's team, it looks gross. I mean, Michael Penix with 5.3, Omarion Hampton with 3.5, Breece Hall with 5.8, Nico Collins 14.2, the high scorer of the team, Drake London with 5.9, Kyle Pitts with 7.7, JCM with 1.7, Emeka Igbuka also had 12.9, another highlight of Sam's team. Outside of those 2 receivers, you've got less than, 27 points combined? I mean, it's awful. Those 2 receivers combining for 28 points on the roster, it's crazy. As Sam mentioned, you draft Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison. That's kind of the thing that you expect when you draft 2 guys who are going to be suspended for the first few weeks. But he stole that win in week 1 against Charlie, and he moves to 1-1 here. He faces me this week, but we'll talk about that coming up. And moving forward into our last matchup of the week, kind of the shootout. This was game of the week for sure. Riley Reid option versus Shea Jackson till I blew. Both teams moving to 1-1, but Tal getting the crucial win, 153.58 to 140.9. Wyatt scores the second highest points in the league and still loses. It's a brutal loss. We'll look at Wyatt's side first. Lamar Jackson highlighting the team with 34.3, closely behind Rome Odunze, the second-year player, 31.8. Even in the loss to Detroit, they were just airing it out to him. Behind him was CeeDee Lamb with 20.2, Kenneth Walker with 18.8, Kyron Williams with 10, Marvin Harrison with 4.7, Tyler Warren with 11.9, and Ricky Pearsall with 9.2, all combining for a 140.9. A great score. You would win every other week, any other time, but unfortunately, you go up against the team on the other side, highlighted by Jamar Chase with 36.5, Jonathan Taylor with 29.5, Patrick Mahomes with 22, and then really just solid performance everywhere else. Tyreek Hill with 16.9, kind of coming alive again. Jalen Waddle also with 17.8. J.K. Dobbins with 15.5. DeAndre Swift with 13.9. Mark Andrews' severe underperformance in that massive blowout against the Browns. he only gets 1.4 points. Derrick Henry only got about 2 points too. It was weird because the Ravens were throwing the ball, so not really sure what to think here. And he had Ramondre Stevenson with 21.2 on the bench, so really great score from Tal's team here. 153.5 is able to get the win and get up to 1-1, beating Wyatt here. Okay, jumping off week 3 here. Going to take a look at our matchups from top to bottom. Here we have Slim Reaper's Retribution versus Swifties for Smirnoff. Currently, I am projected about 11 points over Sam, 122.4 to 111.7. And as we look at the team, I've got the advantage in a couple of key positions. There's going to be a few things to watch out for. Obviously, tonight we have A-Chane against Buffalo, the Thursday night football game. It's going to be an important one to watch as A-Chane is projected to be 19 points of my team. So any big underperformance or overperformance there could kind of shift this line of minus 10.7. Other things that we want to watch out for is the Chargers versus Denver game. Obviously, I have Justin Herbert against the Denver defense, but as we look at Sam's side, he has Omari and Hampton also with the Chargers against the Denver defense. And then, is that it? I thought he had somebody else involved. No, he doesn't. But the other most important game, I think, related to this, aside from the Buffalo and the Denver game, is going to be the Carolina Falcons game. Sam's stacking 3 Falcons players, similar to how Noah is stacking 3 Eagles players. Michael Penix, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, all going to be involved in that game. Really is going to have a big influence on what the final score for us is going to be. And then as a kind of other important game is going to be the Tampa Bay New York Jets game. Obviously, it's the Mike Evans versus Emeka Egbuka show, the first time that's happened this season for us. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, I like my chances here, the 3rd seed versus the 11th seed, but Sam's team showed in week 1 it has the opportunity to put up good points, especially if the Falcons do well. So moving forward, we have Redemption Arc versus Baby Want Milky. Eli currently favored 129.4 to 117.7. The only 2-0 team versus the only 0-2 team, the 1 seed versus the 12 seed. Interesting game here, minus 11.7 spread. Eli has the advantage in literally every position except for tight end. Obviously, Charlie with Brock Bowers has the projection advantage, even though Tucker Kraft has been averaging 17.2. But both of these tight ends are currently questionable at the moment, and I know that Brock Bowers practiced in a limited fashion on Thursday. I'm not sure what Tucker Kraft's practice was. They're both playing pretty tough defense, Tucker Kraft going against Cleveland and Brock Bowers going against Washington. However, as we look at the backup situation here, Eli has Dallas Goedert, who is also questionable, I believe with a hamstring injury, who's going against the Rams, and Charlie has Evan Ingram, obviously playing for the Broncos, who is also questionable and playing against the Chargers this week. So, man, those Misty Mountains are causing some burpage. Either way, this is going to be a tight end showdown. I mean, we've got all 4 tight ends that are potentially going to be involved in this matchup questionable at the moment. We've got the tight end rank 1 versus the projected tight end rank 1. And I think that aside from that, we've got a lot of good matchups across the board. Daniel Jones versus Tennessee. Eli spends a ton of fab money on him. He currently is the quarterback 3. He's been averaging 28 points. Daniel Jones looks like a new guy. And against Tennessee, which is a really weak defense, I think this is a clear advantage. Charlie with Kyler Murray going against San Fran. It's a really tough defense. He's choosing not to start Bo Nix against the Chargers, which both tough defense matchups for your 2 quarterbacks, and it's kind of that thing we talk about all season, both with Noah last year and just a few minutes ago with Charlie's team in week 2. But you really, when you have these 2 quarterbacks and not a clear quarterback 1, you don't know who to start. Chase Brown against Minnesota, James Cook against Miami, Justin Jefferson against Cincinnati. All those pretty weak defenses so far through this point in the season, and players looking to get good advantages. Devontae Adams against Philadelphia. That's likely going to be a shootout with the Rams' high-powered offense. Zay Flowers against Detroit, also probably going to be a shootout. And then Keenan Allen against Denver. That will probably be more of a defensive battle, but Keenan Allen has been receiving so many of Justin Herbert's targets. He just has a clear connection with him even still after being away for a year. And then looking at Charlie's side, we've got pretty tough defensive matchups. Kyler Murray against San Fran, Ashton Jeanty against Washington, Jalen Warren against New England, Terry McLaurin against Vegas, Jerry Jeudy against Green Bay, Brock Bowers against Washington, Alvin Kamara against Seattle, and Wandale against the Chiefs. I mean, I don't see one matchup here on Charlie's side that I look at and I think, oh, this is really favorable. I love how this is going to look. And especially with how a lot of Charlie's team has been underperforming, I think that there is a clear path to Charlie being blown out in this one and Eli easily walking into a 3-0 start. Looking at the next matchup, the Golden Boys versus Baked with a Chub, Bennett versus Alex, 127 to 120 projection, -7 spread, pretty even for me. Looking at Bennett's side first, we clearly have an advantage with Josh Allen against Miami happening on this Thursday game, and Baker Mayfield against Jets on the other side. The Jets are supposed to have a really good defense, but they've been involved in a couple of shootouts already to this point. Bijan Robinson against Carolina, really favorable matchup for Bennett. And Jahmyr Gibbs against Baltimore, also a really favorable matchup. Their secondary has looked good, but their rush defenses look kind of suspect. Bucky Irving against the Jets is kind of tough. Similar vibe to Chuba Hubbard against the Falcons. Gosh. And then as we look at the receivers, I give the clear advantage to Alex here, obviously, with guys like Lad McConkey, JSN, Cortland Sutton. And I think with the matchups, I would agree with that as well. George Pickens against Chicago, Matthew Golden against Cleveland, Garrett Wilson against Tampa Bay. None of those matchups really shout out to me as like super favorable. Maybe Garrett Wilson against Tampa Bay, just because they usually end up in shootouts. But I would say that even not being matchup dependent, I like Alex's receivers better. I think that Alex has the advantage in receiver matchups here, but in terms of overall matchups, I think I give it to Bennett. Josh Allen against Miami, they just showed that they could blow out the Jets. However, they just showed that they could do that without Josh Allen needing to score. We'll see how that goes this week, but I do really think that Bijan Robinson could have a generational 40-point game against Carolina, especially with how they've been trying to feed him so far. So I think that Bennett has the clear advantage, but with a couple of key underperformances, and as long as guys like Quentin Johnston and Cortland Sutton, those dudes who are kind of hanging around the edge of Alex's team right now, continue to perform or start to perform, then you could have a really solid performance and a upset against Bennett. Looking at our fourth matchup of the week, Saquon Mechanics versus Pernicious D. Currently, Henry is projected 129.6 to Noah's 111.4, a -18.2 spread. And I don't see any injury or projections that are leading me to believe that should be incorrect, which is one of the largest projection mismatches we've had to this point. And looking further into why, I'm not really sure. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and A.J. Brown are all projected around where they normally would be, even though they've been underperforming. All of them are averaging well under what they're projected at currently, aside from Saquon being a slight under projection, or under average. However, that's really going to be the tail of this game. You've got 3 Eagles players involved with this Rams game, no Rams players involved on either side. But I think that the tail of this team is going to be the Eagles, as it has been for the first 2 weeks and as it still will be going forward until he either diversifies or something happens. Looking at matchups specifically, though, obviously the Patriots are going up against Pittsburgh, one of the better defenses, and Travion Henderson currently being wide receiver, running back 31, and Hunter Henry currently being tight end 20, does not give me confidence that they're going to perform well against one of the better defenses in the league. However, looking at the other side of the ball, Henry doesn't have incredible matchups either. Dak Prescott versus Chicago, they did just get blown out by the Lions, but I think that the Lions are a step ahead of the Cowboys, both in terms of offense and defense, which would allow them to do that. Looking at the rest of the matchups, Josh Jacobs versus Cleveland, pretty tough. Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Baltimore, DK Metcalf versus New England, Trey McBride versus San Fran, Debo versus Las Vegas. The only 2 matchups that I would say are really favorable on Henry's side are Tony Pollard versus Indianapolis and Jordan Mason versus Cincinnati. It's going to be Jordan Mason's first game as the starting running back for Minnesota since being traded and since the injury to Aaron Jones. I'm interested to see what he can do, and I think Henry is as well, which is kind of why he's going with the start here. I think previously, if we look at the bench, he was starting guys like DJ Moore, who's currently projected 12.9, but Jordan Mason with that 14.7 projection with that Aaron Jones injury, kind of indicating he's going to be the lead back on all 3 downs. I like the start from Henry, and I think Henry has the clear advantage and is looking to get to 2-1 and have a good start. Looking at our 5th matchup of Week 3, we have She Jackson Till I Blue versus Blue Medical Tint. Wyatt currently projected 125.4 to Kevin's 119.1. Based on the look here, I think it's a pretty accurate -6 spread. Lamar Jackson, obviously the better quarterback in this matchup, but closely followed by Jaden Daniels, suffering from that knee injury, so we'll see if he's banged up or able to, suit up for full reps. He may not play. He's a very young guy, may not be fully suited to NFL reps yet, and they may want to be cautious. The Commanders have had their issues with quarterback injuries in the past, especially quarterbacks who've had that incredible rookie season. RG3, anybody? Or, what's his name? Dewey Haskins. Either way, I think the quarterback advantage goes to Wyatt here. Running back advantage, although on paper you would probably say it's Wyatt because Kyron and Kenneth Walker have just been so strong and such young guys. Currently it's Kevin. Christian McCaffrey's at running back 2, just being a PPR demon, and Nick Chubb has been pretty solid so far, averaging about 11 points. Both of them going up against really favorable defenses in Arizona and Jacksonville, whereas Kyron and Kenneth are going up against Philly and New Orleans, respectively. Looking at the receivers, I like Wyatt's side better, even though the matchups are tougher. CeeDee Lamb against Chicago, Marvin Harrison against San Fran, Rome Odunze against Dallas, and Ricky Pearsall against Arizona. Arizona's the really only clear-cut favorable matchup there, but Wyatt's receivers have just on average been performing better than Kevin's so far. Kevin has Brian Thomas, Cooper Kupp, J-Mo, and Tet, all with decent or worse matchups. Brian Thomas going against Houston, Cooper Kupp against New Orleans, J-Mo against Baltimore, and Tet against Atlanta. And they've all been averaging, either in the low teens or in the single digits, depending on who they are. So Juwan Johnson has really been Kevin's 3rd highest average points by a player. So it may be a tight end matchup this week as well. Wyatt obviously with Tyler Warren, and I don't think he's rostering a backup tight end at the moment. No, he is not, and Tyler Warren is questionable. So we'll see how that ends up working for him, but I'm interested for his sake to see if Wyatt's able to get another dub this week. He's currently 2nd in the standings because of how much points he's put up, even though there are 10 players at 1-1. But it's a pretty close matchup here, only -6 points. So we'll see if Kevin and the Blue Medical Tent are able to sow some of that injury luck into Wyatt's team and pull off a dub. And looking at our 6th and final matchup of Week 3, we have Henry Thing Is Possible versus Riley Reed Option. Al currently under-projected to Tal, 117.5 to 121.1. -3.6 spread in Tal's favor. And just looking at things immediately, obviously Al spends a lot of his fab, goes after Jordan Love, picks up the quarterback that he needs. Did he? Or did he pick him up for nothing? Let's look. He was added for $30, yeah. A significant portion, 30% of Al's yearly fab dollars spent on Jordan Love. I think it's a fine spend. He's currently quarterback 12, which is a startable quarterback based on our league settings. And he's going against Cleveland, which isn't one of the most favorable matchups or defenses that you would want, but he needed a quarterback. Joe Burrow is going to miss the next 12 weeks, so he needed to make something happen. And, with starting a streamer quarterback, you're going to be under-projected most of the time. As Joe Burrow slotting in there, you'll probably be neck and neck with Tal. But Al's got some pretty tough matchups this week. Jordan Love against Cleveland, James Conner against San Fran, Javonte against Chicago, Malik against Kansas City, Travis Hunter against Houston, David Njoku against Green Bay, Derrick Henry against Detroit, and David Montgomery against Baltimore. I mean, I don't look at any of those and see, man, this is an opportunity for somebody to really blow it out of the water. Maybe Malik Neighbors if the Giants fall behind and the Chiefs' offense finally shows up, and then Russell Wilson has to air it out to Malik Neighbors nonstop. That's kind of what's been happening so far, regardless of whether they win or lose. But nobody else that I look at here, I see a real clear path to over-projection. And then looking at Tal's side of the board, there's a lot more favorable matchups. He obviously has the antithesis to the Malik Neighbors Kansas City game, as he has Patrick Mahomes. And if Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City offense get off to a good start, they could boat race the Giants in this one. I think Jonathan Taylor against Tennessee is really great. DeAndre Swift against Dallas isn't phenomenal, but, I mean, if he can get you 11 points, I think that you'd be acceptable with that. Jamar Chase against Minnesota is going to be a very favorable matchup. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in that Buffalo matchup tonight, that's going to be very suspect. I don't know if Tal's going to want to start both of those players, but he has been so far, and they've both been averaging about 12.5, so I think you're willing to take that. Looking forward, Mark Andrews against Detroit, not extremely favorable, and J.K. Dobbins against the Chargers, his former team from last year. Neither of those matchups jump out to me as super favorable, and considering Mark Andrews is only averaging 1.5 points, I don't really like the tight end here, but maybe he slots in Dalton Kincaid. However, that would be 3 players involved in that Thursday night game, so it could be a huge swing if it's an underscoring game. I do think Tal has the advantage here, both in matchups. Actually, I think Tal has the advantage in matchups. I think Al has the advantage in overall player quality. So this could really go either way. I think it's one of our closer matchups of the week, only being minus 3.6 spread in Tal's favor, but anything can happen. So hopefully we've kept this fairly short. I think this should be around 30 minutes total, even with Sam's intro. Thank you, Sam, for giving me the inspiration to do this solo pod this week and give us a little bit of motivation and a little bit of entertainment before our Thursday night football game. So hats off to all of you gentlemen, and I wish you luck in your week 3 endeavors. Commissioner, signing off.